Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, we want to present our case study that had been given by Dr. Firdaus. So my name is Arif Lokman bin Peter, and with my fellow friends that can introduce yourself.
My name is Farhan Binti Mohammed Idris, and
My name is Muhammad Azamuddin Busharan.
My name is Muhammad Asidik bin Omar Rais.
Okay, for now, let's we move to our first case study 17, that will be presented by Azam.
Yes. Okay, for the first question, case study 17, what is the main innovation in this case study? So the main innovation in this case study is about introducing export processing zone and tax break undertaken by India. This has grown the software and industry in India by 50% every year. With the influx of investors from abroad make the software ecosystem in India is increasingly evolving into a high dynamic and varied sector that develop and manage the most complex IT system for global enterprise. This has led to the extent of the three type of firm software in India has brought attraction to the global market to invest the develop the firm industry in India. This has also led to larger global companies have released the compatibility of Indian talent and started focusing on the core innovation of the country. And innovation in the software and IT industry has increased the profit of local entrepreneurs, and with innovation, the company in India is stronger and more stable. Next, for question number 2, is about the opinion on the strategy taken by the Indian government. It is good move to promote indigenous technology in ICT or not? Honestly, in my opinion, the strategy taken by the Indian government is a good step. This because the presence of investor from developed country can help convey knowledge in the field of ICT technology to the indigenous. In addition, frequent foreign tourists can attest that the quality of interaction with the indigenous population has grown dramatically over the last quarter of a country due to the widespread influence of the IT industry. With the government support, foreign and domestic investment can help launch India as the next global technology hub. It also allows for more widespread and rapid job growth, productivity, and production with the advance of computerized and network environment. This innovation are seen to have the potential to advance human development and disseminate the skill need to harness the potential of ICT. ICT enhance the effectiveness and benefit targeting of rural and urban development program and poverty reduction schemes. That's all from me. Next, I hand it to Arif Lokman for the next question.
Okay, due to my point, due to my question is, most multinational company USA and Europe invested in Indian Silicon Valley with main purpose were to take off advantage of the cheap talented labor in India. So, in my opinion, right now, most multinational companies, USA and Europe, take the advantage of the cheap talented labor in India. It is because India estimation for their population is 1.1 billion people by 2020. So they has in India they has dumping of highly qualified graduate from university and college as opposed to developed country. So India has a large labor force that includes unskilled workers as well as talented pool of skilled workers, such as researcher and engineer, who can provide cost-effective technology development support to IT operations. Then in India also, they have like a good worldwide reputation of cheap labor in India in the production of output, and the system is also good and of quality globally, unlike China. As we know that China has a bad reputation in business process, business transaction. They have no transparency, unlike in India. India has a good reputation worldwide. So many investors from many multinational company and entrepreneur like to make a base in India. So they take an advantage from the cheap labor to hire them to work with their company. So we have for the point number 3, having a support staff who can answer to your global customer in multiple language is a significant benefit. Like India, they have a lot of workers then that can that cheap and can speak fluently English. So it helped multinational company from USA and Europe to communicate in domestic and also to global IT industry. So by that we can see labor costs in India are significantly lower than developed country average, US dollar 1.5 per hour. So it's the second lowest wages rather than other developing country. So I move to, so let we move to second part, our so let me move to, then we by question number 4, briefly discuss how Indian company take advantage of the development ICT, primarily supplying cheap labor to develop local expertise in bracket by local entrepreneurs in the competitive ICT industry. So by my point number 1, offer cheap labor that can match the skill of worker abroad. So by the huge population in India, we can see that the local entrepreneur also can hire the local people, the skilled and unskilled workers from India that have like skills such like workers from abroad. So they can cost effectively for their company to hire the people from the local in India. So point number 2, staffing and recruiting local labor in India is easier than outsourcing worker from abroad. It is because of we can see that staffing local labor is much easier because in India, local company in India are familiar with the regulation and law regarding labor in their own country compared to foreign country, because different country have a different regulation about staffing, about hire workers. So by point number 3, cheap English speaker labor, which can help a local IT company in India in negotiation process, cooperation between international IT companies, and so on. So as we can look, they can have a local people, the local workers that can speak English and cheap, and also by the cheap wages. So it will help them to communicate with other multinational companies that that using English as their language. So by number 4, we can look that growing domestic IT markets in India. So they can with the availability of cheap labor in India, it provides an opportunity for local IT companies with additional employees to produce a lot of output, and the addition of a new local IT companies in India. It directly provides competition to multinational company based in India with a rapidly growing domestic market presence. With these two, it can help growth to the Indian national income economy. So finally, for the conclusion towards the question number 4, local IT companies in India get various advantages in fully utilized cheap labor available in their country. It will save the cost of a company in staffing labor outside from India and focus on upgrading existing system to be able to compete with established company around the world. So okay, so we move to question number 5, which is my opinion in Malaysia trying to emulate the same strategy in ICT industry by developing its own Silicon Valley that located in Cyberjaya. However, the country not able to produce local company at level of Infosys and Wipro. So Infosys and Wipro is one of the largest IT company that located in Silicon Valley in Bangalore, India. So we move to the point number 1. Number 1 is most of the local company is underfunded. So when the local companies in Malaysia is underfunded, they cannot compete with the established global IT company that has a lot of fund. Then they cannot realization their idea from a blueprint to become a software and software product. Also, then we move to point number 2, competition from established global IT company. And as we know that most of the global IT company is a pioneer, has advantages and experience in terms of technology development compared to our local IT companies. So also we can look that many of local IT companies in Malaysia are using the product from the global, using Microsoft Word, that Microsoft the software from Microsoft, and also most of the company using gadget such as like Apple. Then in my opinion that local IT companies need to take initiative to create a software and product that has the capability, value, and quality like other IT companies, such as producing phone gadget comparable to Apple, and also create and produce a software like Microsoft and so on. So we move to third point, which is most local IT company in Malaysia lack outsourcing skilled workers and system from developed country. Malaysia is still far from technological advancement and do not use features comprehensively in the life of the global community. So with the less outsourcing of skilled worker and system will result in local IT companies not growing, still tied to the outdated system and not having the opportunity to compete with global IT company that have an advantages in the industry. So this problem also causes the domestic IT market in Malaysia is still monopolized and dominated by international IT company. And we move to point number 4, no market need and less demand from customer. So most Malaysian IT companies solution do not address any existing business need, are articulate differently, or have a competitive edge over competitor. Many startup and business are introduced without first conduct conducting market study and research. The market is oversaturated with companies or solutions that do the same thing or solve the same problem in the same way. As example that we can take for the point number 4 is Dah Makan application is one of the Malaysian service provider, and it has several established competitors such as we know like GrabFood and Foodpanda. However, it failed to dominate the online food and beverages industry in Malaysia due to the lack of value added to the system and funds to upgrade the system on par with its competitor. So for the last point is undefined ideas from local IT company. So startup in Malaysia IT company often have $1 million and brilliant concept, but they struggle to implement it because they lack a proper implementation plan to realize the idea. A business plan is essential for any new venture. Furthermore, the lack of funds is one of the reasons the idea is not realized, and existing product and the product cannot be produced well and given a value that is able to attract future prospect. Then the most ideas on technology development require high funding, skills, and knowledge to be realized. But as we know that Malaysia still lack in this element, causing most IT company in Malaysia cannot afford to compete with Silicon Valley in India. So that's all for me. Let's move to next presenter for case study 18.
Okay, for question number 1, what kind of innovation resources involved in this case study? Like any other big company, Novo Nordisk has had to take organizational obligations seriously and has been at the forefront of designing and applying best practices in his field. It was one of the first organizations to use the triple bottom line as a metric for measuring efficiency, recognizing the importance of considering broader social and cultural issues, as well as being explicit on its ideas. The organization is regularly valued highly for its contribution to corporate stakeholder relations (CSR). Triple bottom line measures the company economic value. The issue is not so much one of describing the phenomenon as one what a firm like Novo Nordisk might do about it. How do they organize to search for something which has not emerged yet? Next slide. Figure 1 highlights the matter. The innovation challenge in Zone 1 is comparatively straightforward, the way to systematically search an area within which we understand where and the way to look. A well-defined selection environment is one where we all know the key technological lines of inquiry. We understand the markets and therefore the competitive dynamics, the regulatory and political frameworks and constraints. Zone 2 poses more problems because we must search beyond our current context but in exceedingly relatively predictable environment. We have a decent idea of the direction within which to put our research bets as an example, along particular technological pathways or into new but promising market opportunities. In cell 3, the challenge is one among searching in territory where there is some familiarity. It is the identical set of markets and technologies, competitors, regulators, and other players. But it's unpredictable. The sheer number of elements and the ways within which they will interact implies that the main target of innovation here may shift and need the flexibility to reframe and unlearn all rules of the sport. In cell 4, there's unpredictability and no clear place to begin its open space. Here, the challenge is to ask whether any of the organization prior assets might play within the emerging game, but it requires having the ability to go looking in very unexpected places and inquire and find out about radically different and unimaged possibilities. Next slide. We can translate these theoretical insights into 3 practical guidelines for dealing with emergence. First one is be in the game. This one is not easy to do since it's not clear where the new game will happen. Second, be in there early. Again, not easy to do because the game emerges rather than happens at its great time, but getting in early allows for extended learning time. And the last one is be in a position to shape the game. Not easy because the levels may not be in the organization's hand, but it can take part in co-evolution as one of the players in an emerging system, able to influence from the inside. Right, next I'll pass to Farhana.
Okay, for question number 2, uh, innovator needs to recognize the limitations of the organization's financial resources. What kind of limitation was faced by the innovator in this case study? Okay, so some of the limitations that the organizations face are when Dawn opened up multiple opportunities for Novo Nordisk to engage with a range of stakeholders and build the fabric for longer-term learning and cooperation with patients, healthcare professionals, government, scientists, and others, all of whom have complementary knowledge sets which could form the basis for innovative combinations. This can take a large sum of money for the organization to gather everyone together in the same place to work on the same task, due to the fact that in 2003, which they brought together representatives from 31 countries and key agencies in the healthcare system, such as World Health Organizations. Next, although it represents a good investment in stakeholder relations, there is also a growing sense that the healthcare game around chronic disease management is shifting. For example, the WHO estimate that diabetes is a bigger kill than AIDS, with around 3.2 million deaths attributable to the disease and its complications every year. Hence, healthcare systems are increasingly focusing their effort on reducing the socio-economic burden of disease, as well as the healthcare costs through reorganization of the care process and structure. But the product-focused pharmaceutical industry is falling behind. While infectious diseases have been in the limelight, chronic disease like diabetes represent a time bomb around which major activity is likely to happen in the near future. Whereas for the National Diabetes Program, they are a non-profit ventures represent at one level a good example of a socially responsible healthcare company contributing to the understanding and development of health strategies and systems. In 2001, the company set about building a network of relationships in key geographical areas, helping devise and configure relevant holistic care programs, which was not simply applied to sell more insulin, but in fact, the company sells its drugs in these markets at an 80% discount to US and European prices. Lastly, they had implications within Novo Nordisk, which is the recognition of the problem of underdiagnosis. For example, based on the case study, in general, around 80% of diabetes sufferers in developing countries remain undiagnosed, with the resulting attention of the healthcare system and the pharmaceutical companies working with them going on the 20% who are identified and treating them. NDP decided to make a move towards how to find the undiagnosed and get to them, how to treat and manage their diabetes in such a way that they don't get complications, which is where the major costs rise, which is essentially a shift from treatment to primary care and prevention. This has implications not only for expanding the potential market for insulin treatment, but also moving the company into much broader areas of healthcare management and delivery. And for the next question, I will pass to Muhammad Asidik.
Alright, the last question is, please discuss the project started by Novo Nordisk and identify some of innovation initiated. Alright, the DAWN program, which began in 2001 and is a continuous survey of diabetes attitudes, wishes, and needs. The aim of DAWN was to investigate the perceptions, desires, and concerns of both diabetes patients and healthcare providers in order to find important differences in overall treatment. A survey among 5,000 people with diabetes, healthcare professionals, and some policymakers, authorities covering 13 countries. DAWN's expertise has been incorporated into Novo Nordisk National Diabetes Program, NDP, a global effort to improve diabetes services around the world. Through the exchange of the best practices among more than 40 countries, the NDP assists in the creation of successful national diabetes programs, a toolbox for enhancing engagement, education, and support of local initiatives, involvement in national diabetes policy making, and initiatives to promote collaboration in the health sector. Next slide. These two projects give stakeholder a benefit, which in DAWN program provides a unique stakeholder dialogue tool that bring new knowledge to the table about how to improve understanding of life with diabetes and provides opportunities for developing new healthcare designs, new tools and services for patient care, evidence and influencing national diabetes strategies. The NDP projects provide the case for why diabetes should be on the agenda of health decision makers, facilitates development of holistic local diabetes leadership strategies. I think that's all from our group.
Yeah, that's all from us. Thank you for your time. Happy Ramadan.